Got the exhaust all finished up on the V8 S2000. Start with V-bands, a dual 2.5, some high flow cats, dual 2.5 into a single 3, single resonator, split back into 2.5s and a dual MagnaFlow mufflers. Now that long straight of 3 really evens out the pulses of the V8, gives it a real smooth tone. These larger mufflers would take some noise out of it. The S2000 was never meant to have a V8, so we take all the fuel lines out from here because we need to put the Corvette stuff in. And here's the Corvette regulator, if it'll focus. We put it up here because it's way out of the way of everything, out of the way of the heat, any moving parts. It's all out of the way. Goes back up to the engine bay. And then we take all the factory hard lines and plastic out because that plastic will melt with the exhaust. So some little gold tape on the brake lines, gold tape on the floor where the catalytic converter is. Take the studs, we're gonna die down them to make them 6x1.0. Bolt the brake lines back up.
Once the engine's out, we're going to be putting in the new clutch, the new bleeder line. It's a remote bleeder, right? For the clutch? Yep. Bleeder basically brings the bleeding air, the bleeding to a different point, brings it higher up. Also makes it easier to bleed. We usually tuck this around this area. A lot easier to get the air out, so we don't have a problem with that. And finish up the welding, any holes, any creases, any seams that we can build up some strength, we're going to do that. Customer doesn't want us to paint the engine bay, so we're going to prime the areas just so we don't have a rust problem. We bring this over here, give you a quick look around, see what's going on. Ports are taped up. George is attaching the chains right now so we can bring out the cherry picker and pull the engine out. There's a quick look around.
The rocket down.
Edit that pump to a light.
Edit that thing.
I'm gonna look out the back.
I'm really clear.
Good. I'm that shape. Perfect angle. Then when I go forward.
You go forward now, you got plenty of room.
Just watch that pulley. Close enough. Pretty close.
The push should go over now if you want to go forward some more.
Go to the back.
Stop there. Forward. You keep going.
More?
Yeah, you got room. Alright, stop.
It's closer from this angle.
Yeah. And with the bounce, it starts to float.
Yeah.
Right, come forward.
Good.
Yeah, keep going up. I'm gonna lift it up, we'll pull it back.
Yeah. for? Oh, back to you, color.
Yep.
Alright, this is the new clutch going in. We took the transmission off and we're going to install this as well as the fittings here and also the quick bleeder. There's part bolts here, in case you didn't know. And it had this thing on it. Don't know what that is, but that's not going on. What have we got going on here, George?
A little sealant on the threads so the oil doesn't come out.
These are an open hole into the crankshaft, so it requires sealant and thread locker. So what George typically does, put sealant on the end of the bolt and then a little bit of thread locker further up. And we're going to go ahead and repeat that about 6 times. We've already cleaned up the threads on the bolts and on the crank. Fortunately, we have a 1.5 tap that fits. Most of our metric stuff is 1.25 because obviously we have a lot of Honda taps, but we do have some 1.5s, which is what a lot of the GM stuff is. So we had that tap so we could clean everything out and make it nice. This is the new release bearing right here. I went ahead and cleaned all this and put it back together and used some of our favorite Honda super high temp grease, and we'll put the lines on already. Over here, this is where the lines come out. This is a remote bleeder. When I get to focus, this just looks like a bleeder on your brakes. Rather than trying to bleed it in this hole, when imagine the transmission tunnels here, it's impossible to work in that hole and bleed it. So this is why you run a remote bleeder. You bring this up higher than the bearing, and then when you bleed it out, the air comes out the top, and then when you're done, you can tape this in the line, or tape it down here, or zip tie it. That way it's there when you need it again. And this right here is going to the new master cylinder. So engine is back in after we did the prep work. All the body work that we did back there is welded and primed. Engine is bolted in for the last time. You saw the clutch went in. Some of the parts that was missing that we are installing at the same time. I see we've got an alternator there and belts. This is getting air conditioning, so we've made up the lines. Compressor is in. We have to get a used compressor. Built the lines, started working on the hoses here. Knock sensors was missing, so we ordered 2 knock sensors. Headers did not have O2 bungs in, so George added O2 bungs, and we put 2 brand new O2 sensors in there. As you can see, it kind of way down there, you can see one of them, maybe you cannot. This line here is the clutch line. As you see right here is the bleeder line. You can see how much easier that is to bleed. Obviously this would be inaccessible with the tunnel, so what we do is put a hose on here and bleed it just in the normal way you would bleed brakes. The new master cylinder is going in right here. This is the Willwood kit. George has that right now. He's working on that, and we do have a custom bracket that holds that in. Fuel system is all done. We changed the fuel system a little bit. These are the manifold and the lines that the customer supplied. What we ended up doing is making obviously a return system, but using a Y for the fuel lines. So one line comes up, splits into 2. You kind of see there's a Y connector right here. This is going to go 1 on each rail, and then the front rails will be plugged See right here, we've got a plug here. There's another plug going in here. That way we have a dedicated line for each side. You see the AN fittings there. Again, more than likely overkill for the horsepower we're working with, but it's better option than feeding one rail, having a crossover tube that feeds the second rail. See there where we added a little bit of reflective tape. We had to add a bit more clearance to get the cat there, like we showed earlier. A little reflective tape on there and the fuel lines, just a little extra safety. You see one of the headers there. We're going to attach the exhaust. See the header will be going on once the starter is installed, when the wiring harness is back. See there's the cross member, and it's got the steel drive shaft shop drive shaft. So that's what we're looking like from underneath. Alright, that's 6:30 at night, so we're going to be leaving it there for today. Give you a little progress report. See, radiator's in. Upper and lower radiator hose. The bottom one is tight. Front top one is just pushed on, just to make sure it fits. We're waiting for the pulley for here. Alternator belt is good. SC is on. The brake master is put back in. Clutch master is in with the reservoir. We're going to finish running that line, the stainless line, just make sure it's in the right spot. The steam pipe here was from a Corvette, and it's not drilled on the back head, so we have to modify this to work for the Camaro, or buy another one for a Camaro. Heater lines have to be put on. Coils have to be done. Again, wiring harness, we can't put the intake manifold on or this header until we have the wiring harness. But we're looking pretty good. It's coming along and it looks quite good. It fits in there nice.